Dr. Sunjay stared at the screen, her eyes wide. The signal had appeared 3 days ago, and she hadn't slept since. Working alone in the small monitoring room of Europa Research Station, she rubbed her tired eyes and checked the readings again. "This can't be right," she whispered to herself. The signal came from somewhere near the Orion Nebula, over 1,500 light-years away. No human technology could reach that far. More importantly, no human technology could send back a signal with such perfect mathematical sequences. The patterns matched no known natural phenomenon. Dr. Sun tapped her screen and called her supervisor. "Director Kim, I need you to see this now," she said, her voice shaking slightly. Within an hour, the small monitoring room was crowded with the station's top scientists. They all watched in silence as the signal repeated its pattern. Then, Dr. Sun showed them her discovery. Hidden in the mathematical sequence was what appeared to be a star map. "It shows our solar system," she explained, pointing to a familiar pattern of dots. "And this might be where the signal is coming from." Director Kim's face grew serious. "We need to report this to Earth Command immediately." The news spread quickly. Within days, the signal was all anyone talked about across Earth and its colonies on the Moon, Mars, and the outer moons. News feeds showed crowds gathering in major cities. Some people celebrated, others protested, many prayed. In New Geneva, Earth's unified government called an emergency meeting. Leaders from all nations gathered to debate what this signal meant and how to respond. "It could be a trick," warned General Park. "We should prepare our defenses." "But what if it's a peaceful greeting?" asked Dr. Lee, the science minister. "We should send a reply." President Zhao raised her hand for silence. "Before we decide anything, let's be clear about what we know. This signal is definitely artificial. It shows knowledge of our location, and it appears to be an invitation of some kind." The debate continued for days. Scientists tried to decode more of the signal while military forces went on high alert. Space stations and colonies were told to watch for anything unusual. Dr. Sun remained on Europa, working day and night to understand more about the signal. She was comparing star charts when her computer suddenly flashed a warning. "Unknown object detected entering solar system." She quickly checked the readings. Something was moving toward Earth at impossible speeds, faster than any human ship could travel. She sent an urgent message to Earth Command, then watched the object's path with growing fear and excitement. The object slowed as it approached Mars' orbit. Now space telescopes could see it clearly. A sleek, silver vessel about the size of a small Earth shuttle. It moved with grace, as if gravity meant nothing to it. Earth's combined defense fleet moved to intercept the vessel. Warships from Earth, Mars, and the Moon formed a protective line between the unknown ship and Earth. Weapons were ready but not yet aimed at the visitor. Then something unexpected happened. The alien ship sent a simple message in perfect English. "We come in peace. We wish to speak with your leaders." After careful security checks, the alien ship was allowed to land at the International Spaceport in Kenya. Armed guards surrounded the landing area while world leaders watched from a safe distance. The ship's door opened smoothly. Out stepped a being that looked almost human, except for pale blue skin and large dark eyes. The alien wore simple white clothing and carried no weapons. "I am Ambassador Ba of the Galactic Concord," the alien said, speaking perfect English with a slight musical accent. "We have been watching Earth for many centuries." President Zhao stepped forward. "I am President Zhao of the United Earth Government. Why have you chosen to visit us now?" Ambassador Ba smiled. "Two reasons. First, your scientist on Europa discovered our signal much faster than we expected. Dr. Sun Ji showed remarkable insight. Second, time grows short." The alien explained that the Galactic Concord was a union of 26 spacefaring species who shared knowledge and helped each other. They had been watching Earth for over 500 years, seeing how humans develop technology and society. "Your species is unique," Ambassador Ba said. "Most races take centuries longer to reach your level of advancement. Our scientists believe you are very close to discovering faster-than-light travel on your own." This news shocked everyone. Earth's best scientists had theoretical models for FTL travel, but most believed it was decades away from being possible. "According to our predictions," the ambassador continued, "you will make this breakthrough within 5 to 10 Earth years. When that happens, you will join the wider galactic community. We normally wait until that moment to make contact, but circumstances have changed." Ambassador Baz's expression grew serious. "There is another reason for our visit. A danger approaches that threatens all intelligent life. Your species has qualities that may be essential to facing this threat." In the following days, more representatives from the Galactic Concord arrived. They shared limited information about star systems beyond our own and technologies beyond human understanding. But they were careful not to give too much too quickly. Dr. Sun Ji was brought to Earth to meet the aliens. When Ambassador Baz saw her, he bowed deeply. "Your work impressed our scientists greatly," the ambassador told her. "Your mind works in ways similar to our greatest thinkers." Dr. Sun found herself appointed as humanity's chief scientific liaison with the aliens. Together with Earth's best scientists, she began working to understand the basics of faster-than-light travel. As humanity adjusted to the knowledge that they were not alone in the universe, a mixture of fear and hope spread across the planet. Schools taught children about the Galactic Concord, while militaries prepared for possible threats. Religious leaders debated what the aliens meant for their faith, and ordinary people wondered what would happen next. One thing was clear to everyone. Humanity's place in the universe had forever changed, and a new age was beginning. Whatever danger threatened the galaxy, Earth would face it alongside its new allies. The sleeping giant was beginning to stir. The research facility underneath Mount Hala was the most secure place on Earth. For 6 months, Dr. Sun Ji had worked here with her team of 50 scientists and engineers. They also had help from 3 alien advisors from the Galactic Concord who shared basic principles of faster-than-light travel. Dr. Sun stood before a small metal ring suspended in the center of the laboratory. The ring was only 3 meters across, made of a special metal alloy that her team had created based on hints from the alien visitors. "Power level stable," called out Dr. Park from his control station. "Quantum field generators online." Dr. Sun took a deep breath. This was their 12th attempt at creating a stable wormhole. The previous 11 had failed, some spectacularly. But each failure taught them something new. "Begin the sequence," she ordered. Engineers typed commands into their stations. The metal ring began to hum. A blue light appeared in the center of the ring, growing brighter. One of the alien advisors, Kyo, watched with his large eyes blinking rapidly. "The energy usage is too low," he said. "You need at least 3 times this power." Dr. Sun smiled but didn't reply. Her team had discovered something the aliens didn't know. A way to use Earth's magnetic field to boost the wormhole generator. It was a trick that shouldn't work according to the equations the aliens had shared, but her team had found a solution in an unexpected place. Ancient human mathematics from 12th century Korea. The blue light expanded, filling the ring. Then, like a soap bubble, it stabilized. Through the ring, they could see the other side of the laboratory, but slightly distorted. "Wormhole stable," shouted Dr. Park. His voice shook with excitement. Dr. Sun picked up a small drone and walked to the ring. She pushed the drone through. It appeared instantly on the other side of the lab, 20 meters away. The room erupted in cheers. Scientists hugged each other. Some cried. Years of work had paid off. The 3 alien advisors stood in shocked silence. Kyo stepped forward, his blue skin pale with surprise. "This is impossible," he said. "Our calculations showed humans were at least 30 years away from stable wormhole technology. And your power usage is 1/5 of what any Concord species requires." Dr. Sun smiled. "We call it the Sun Drive," she said. "And it works." Within 3 months, the first human faster-than-light ship was ready. The ESS Prometheus was built in orbit around Earth, a sleek vessel designed specifically around the sun drive. It wasn't large, just big enough for a crew of 12 and 3 Concorde observers. Captain Ta Jin stood on the bridge, looking at the main view screen. Earth floated below them, beautiful and blue. At 45, Ta had spent half his life in space, commanding exploration missions to Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. But this mission would take him farther than any human had ever gone. "All systems ready, Captain," reported First Officer Yoon. "Sun drive is powered up and stable." Ta nodded. "Open a channel to Earth Command." The face of Admiral Hand appeared on screen. "Prometheus, you are cleared for departure. Good luck and Godspeed." "Thank you, Admiral," said Ta. He turned to his crew. "Let's make history." He nodded to the navigation officer. "Set coordinates for Alpha Centauri." The navigation officer, Lieutenant Min, worked at her console. "Coordinates set, sir. Sun drive targeting successful. Wormhole will form 2,000 kilometers ahead." "Take us in," ordered Ta. The ship moved forward smoothly. Ahead, space seemed to bend and fold. A blue circle of light formed, growing larger until it was big enough for the ship to enter. "This is it," said Ta quietly. "Proceed at 1/4 speed." The Prometheus entered the wormhole. The view screen showed swirling patterns of light and energy. According to the Concorde observers, this was wormhole space, a strange dimension between normal space where the rules of physics worked differently. "Navigation is becoming difficult," said Lieutenant Min, frowning at her instruments. "The quantum fluctuations are stronger than we expected." One of the Concorde observers, named June, moved to the navigation station. "This is normal. Wormhole space is chaotic. Even our best navigators take years to learn how to sense the patterns." But Lieutenant Min was already adjusting the ship's course, her fingers dancing across the controls. "I can see the patterns," she said. "It's like looking at ocean waves. You can feel which way they're flowing." June stared at her in surprise. "That's impossible. You can't possibly navigate by instinct your first time in wormhole space." The other alien observers watched in amazement as Lieutenant Min guided the ship smoothly through the chaotic energies. When June tried to take over the controls, the ship immediately began to shudder and drift off course. "Let her do it," Captain Tide ordered. "She has a feel for it." The journey that should have taken hours was completed in 20 minutes. The Prometheus emerged from the wormhole into normal space. On the view screen, a new star shone brightly. Alpha Centauri. The crew cheered. They had traveled 4.3 light-years in less than half an hour. Humanity had joined the stars. But the most surprising discovery came when they tested the other human crew members. Every single one showed some ability to sense and navigate the quantum fluctuations in wormhole space. Some were better than others, but all had a natural talent that the aliens found shocking. "In our species, only 1 in 10,000 has any navigation talent at all," June explained to Captain Ta. "And those few must train for decades to master it. Yet every human on your crew has some ability, and Lieutenant Min has skill equal to our best navigators." That night, Captain Ta overheard the 3 Concorde observers talking quietly among themselves. They spoke in their own language, but the ship's computer translated for him. "This changes everything," said June. "The prophecy of the sleeping giant." "We should not jump to conclusions," said another observer. "Coincidences happen." 3 coincidences," replied June. "First, they develop FTL technology in months instead of decades. Second, they use a fraction of the energy we require. Third, they all have navigation abilities that our people struggle to learn. The signs are clear." "What will the council say?" asked the third observer. "They will be afraid," said June. "As they should be. If the humans truly are the sleeping giant of the ancient texts, then their awakening means great change is coming to the galaxy." Captain Ta moved away quietly, pondering what he had heard. Whatever this sleeping giant prophecy was, it clearly worried the aliens. But it would have to wait. Right now, his crew had made history, and a new star system waited to be explored. Humanity had taken its first step into the galaxy, and somehow, Ta knew nothing would ever be the same again. The ESS Prometheus emerged from its wormhole near a structure so vast it seemed impossible. Nexus Station looked like a metal flower floating in space, with huge petals extending from a central hub. Each petal was big enough to hold a small city. Lights sparkled across its surface, and hundreds of ships moved around it like busy insects. Captain Ta Jin stood on the bridge, trying to hide his amazement. "It's at least the size of Earth's moon," he whispered to his first officer. "Welcome to Nexus Station," said Jun, their Concord guide, the heart of galactic diplomacy for the past 3,000 years. As the Prometheus approached, they received docking instructions in 20 different languages. The ship's computer translated them all perfectly. "They've assigned us to Docking Bay 117, Captain," reported Lieutenant Min. "Take us in slowly," ordered Captain Ta. "Let's not scratch our new ship on our first visit." The Prometheus glided into the massive docking bay. Outside the viewports, the crew could see aliens of all shapes and sizes moving about. Some looked almost human, others were completely different. Floating gas clouds, insect-like beings, and creatures that seemed made of crystal. "We've arranged quarters for your crew and meetings with the Concord Council," said Jun. "But I must warn you, not all species are happy about humanity's arrival." Captain Ta soon learned what Jun meant. The human delegation was given a tour of the public areas of Nexus Station. Everywhere they went, aliens stared at them. Some seemed curious, others friendly, but many watched with clear distrust. "Those are Valari diplomats," Jun explained, pointing to a group of tall, red-skinned aliens with ridge-like foreheads. "They control the largest empire in this sector. They've been concerned about your species' rapid development." One of the Valari approached the human group. He was dressed in elaborate armor with symbols that probably showed his rank. "So these are the humans," he said, looking them up and down. "They look weak. Hard to believe they mastered wormhole technology so quickly." Captain Ta stepped forward and bowed slightly. "I am Captain Ta Jin of Earth. We're pleased to meet representatives of the Valari Empire." The Valari didn't bow back. "I am Sub-Commander Gal of the Valari Diplomatic Corps. Your appearance at Nexus is unexpected. Many wonder how primitives like you manage to advance so quickly. Some suspect outside help." "We had guidance from the Concord," admitted Ta, "but the breakthroughs were our own." "So you say," replied Gal coldly before walking away. "Don't mind him," said a soft voice behind them. "The Valari are suspicious of everyone." They turned to see a small, slender alien with pale green skin and large, kind eyes. She was dressed in simple robes covered with what looked like writing. "I am Scholar Rin of the Nith," she said with a gentle bow. "We have been hoping to meet humans for a very long time." The Nith invited the human delegation to their section of Nexus Station. Unlike the cold, metal corridors of the main station, the Nith area was filled with plants, soft lights, and what appeared to be libraries filled with ancient books and scrolls. "We are the record keepers of the galaxy," explained Scholar Rin as she led them to a quiet room. "For tens of thousands of years, we have collected and preserved knowledge from all known species." She placed her hand on a crystal in the center of the room. Images appeared in the air around them. Star maps, ancient texts, and pictures of ruins on distant worlds. "We believe your species may have a special place in galactic history," she said. "These are records of the progenitors, a species that reached incredible technological heights long ago, then mysteriously vanished about 50,000 years ago." The images showed ruins that looked strangely familiar, structures with arches and columns not unlike ancient Earth architecture. "We have genetic records too," continued Rin, showing a double helix pattern. "There are similarities to human DNA, not exact matches, but enough to suggest a connection." "Are you saying humans are descended from these progenitors?" asked Dr. Moon, the Prometheus's science officer. "We cannot be certain," said Rin, but the rapid development of your species, your natural ability with wormhole navigation, and these genetic markers all suggest some connection. Their meeting was interrupted by an alarm. Scholar Rin looked worried. "Our science vessel is returning from the outer rim," she said, "but they're being followed by a Valari warship." On the Prometheus bridge, Captain Ta watched the situation unfold on the view screen. A small, unarmed Nith science ship was racing toward Nexus Station, with a much larger Valari warship close behind. "They're accusing our scientists of spying," explained Rin. "But it's not true. We were studying ancient ruins in a neutral system." The Valari ship fired a warning shot across the Nith vessel's path. "They can't do that near Nexus Station," protested Jun. "It violates all diplomatic protocols." Captain Tai made a quick decision. "Lieutenant Min, plot a wormhole jump. Put us between that warship and the Nith vessel." "Sir, that's very precise positioning," said Min. "And in restricted space." "You can do it," said Ta confidently. "Take us in." The Prometheus jumped, creating a perfect wormhole that placed them directly between the Valari warship and its target. The sudden appearance of the human ship caused the Valari to swerve sharply. "Open a channel," ordered Ta. The angry face of a Valari commander appeared on screen. "Move your vessel immediately, human. This is Valari Imperial business. This is Captain Ta Jin of Earth. You are violating Nexus diplomatic protocols by firing weapons in protected space. The Nith vessel is under our protection until this matter can be resolved properly through Concord channels. You dare interfere," roared the Valari. "We could destroy your primitive ship with a single volley." "You could try," replied Ta calmly. "But before your weapons officer could press the button, we would create a wormhole inside your engine room. I hear antimatter explosions in confined spaces are quite spectacular." It was a bluff. The Prometheus couldn't actually create a wormhole that precisely, but the Valari didn't know that. The Valari commander's eyes widened. After a moment, he growled, "This isn't over, human," and cut the transmission. His ship turned slowly and moved away. News of the confrontation spread quickly through Nexus Station. When the Prometheus crew returned to public areas, they found the reaction had changed. Many aliens now looked at them with respect, though some with even greater fear. "You've made a powerful enemy in the Valari," said Jun, "but also many friends. And you've confirmed something to many watching species," added Scholar Rin. "Only the progenitors ever showed such natural talent for wormhole manipulation. The sleeping giant is truly awakening." Captain Todd didn't fully understand what that meant, but he knew humanity had just taken its place on the galactic stage. There would be no going back to the simple days when Earth stood alone. The old space station hung silently among the stars, its curved metal shape unlike any human or Concord design. For thousands of years, it had drifted here at the edge of a dead star system, waiting. Now, two ships approached it carefully, the ESS Prometheus and a Nith research vessel. "No power readings," reported Dr. Moon as he scanned the station. "No life signs. It appears completely dead." Captain Ta Jin studied the strange structure through the main viewport. "How old did you say this station is, Scholar Rin?" The Nith scholar checked her instruments. "Our best estimate is 47,000 years. We discovered its location in ancient texts, but no Concord ship has ever been able to enter it." "What do you mean, enter it?" asked Captain Ta. "It looks abandoned." "That's what makes it so interesting," replied Rin. "Every expedition that has found this station has been unable to dock with it or cut through its hull. It's as if the station rejects them." Captain Tai made his decision. "Let's see if it rejects us too. Prepare a boarding team." The team consisted of 6 humans from the Prometheus crew and 4 Nith researchers. They approached the station in a shuttle, expecting to have the same difficulties previous explorers had encountered. To everyone's surprise, as they neared the station, lights flickered on across its surface. A docking bay opened like a mouth, welcoming them in. "It's responding to our approach," said Lieutenant Min in amazement. "How is that possible?" Scholar Rin's large eyes blinked rapidly. "In all our records, it has never done that before." They docked inside the station. The air was stale but breathable. As the boarding team stepped out of their shuttle, more lights activated around them, illuminating a vast docking bay filled with strange, sleek ships of unknown design. "These must be progenitor vessels," whispered Dr. Moon, examining the closest ship. "The technology is far beyond anything I've seen." They found a door that led deeper into the station. It was sealed shut with no visible controls. "Previous expeditions could never get past this point," explained Rin. Captain Tai approached the door. As he neared it, a panel lit up beside it. Symbols appeared that no one recognized. "It seems to be some kind of access panel," said Dr. Moon. "Maybe a handprint scanner." Captain Ta placed his hand on the panel. Nothing happened. The others tried as well, including the Nith scholars. Still nothing. Then Dr. Moon had an idea. The Nith record suggested a genetic connection between humans and progenitors. Maybe it needs a DNA sample. Captain Tai pressed his thumb against the panel hard enough to break the skin. A small drop of blood touched the surface. Immediately, the panel glowed bright blue. The door slid open smoothly. "It recognized you," whispered Rin in awe. "It recognized human DNA." Beyond the door lay corridors that lit up as they walked, leading them deeper into the station. They found rooms filled with unknown technology. In one large chamber, they discovered what appeared to be a control center. When Captain Tai entered, a holographic display activated in the center of the room. Stars and planets appeared, floating in the air. Some were marked with symbols. "It's a star map," said Dr. Moon, studying the display. "But these systems, I don't recognize them." Scholar Rin moved closer, her face showing surprise. "These are systems that lie beyond the gravitational reefs, regions of space where strange gravity distortions make wormhole travel impossible. No Concorde ship has ever successfully navigated through them." The map highlighted several star systems with bright markers. "These markings indicate resources," said Rin, translating symbols that matched fragments in Nith records. "Incredibly rich deposits of rare elements, habitable worlds. Treasures beyond imagining." "If these gravitational reefs are impossible to navigate, how did the progenitors reach these systems?" asked Lieutenant Min. As if responding to her question, the hologram changed. It showed a ship creating a wormhole that twisted in unusual ways, somehow flowing around the gravity distortions rather than fighting through them. "It's showing wormhole navigation techniques," said Captain Ta, "similar to what our navigators do instinctively." They explored further, finding more rooms that activated only for the humans. In one chamber, they discovered historical records. Images showing a mighty civilization spanning thousands of worlds. Then they found something disturbing. The hologram showed darkness spreading across the galaxy, consuming stars, worlds being evacuated, battles fought and lost against something that appeared as a vast cloud of nothingness. They called it the Void, translated Scholar Rin, reading ancient texts that appeared, a consciousness that feeds on energy and technology. The progenitors fought it for centuries. The next images were even more shocking. They showed Earth, but primitive Earth from tens of thousands of years ago, progenitor ships in orbit, and what looked like genetic manipulation of early humans. "They created us," whispered Dr. Moon, "or at least changed us." "Not just created," said Rin, reading more text. "The word they use is closer to seeded or prepared. They were planning something." In the deepest part of the station, they found a room unlike any other. A single platform stood in the center, with a crystal pillar rising from it. When Captain Tai approached, the crystal began to glow. "I don't think we should touch that," warned Lieutenant Min. But before anyone could stop him, Dr. Moon stepped forward and placed his hand on the crystal. "We need to know," he said. The crystal flared with blinding light. Energy surged through the station. Outside, in space, a beam of light shot from the top of the station, stretching out to the stars. "What have you done?" gasped Scholar Rin. The crystal displayed a message that Rin translated with growing horror. "Beacon activated. Guardian Awakening Protocol initiated." Alarms began to sound throughout the station. They raced back to their shuttle. As they flew back to their ships, they saw the space station changing. Parts were moving, systems activating that had been dormant for millennia. When they returned to the Prometheus, urgent messages were waiting from Nexus Station. "Captain, something is happening across the galaxy," reported the communications officer. "Similar stations and beacons are activating everywhere. The Concord Council is in emergency session." Then more news arrived. The Valari Empire had put its fleet on high alert, claiming that humans were activating dangerous progenitor weapons. They were moving warships toward Earth and demanding that humans surrender all progenitor technology. But the most frightening report came from deep space monitoring stations. Something vast was moving through the outer reaches of the galaxy, a darkness that consumed light and energy. It was heading toward inhabited space. "The void," whispered Scholar Rin. "It's awakening, just as humanity is." Captain Ta looked at the ancient space station through the viewport. Whatever the progenitors had planned for humanity, the time had come. The sleeping giant had awakened, but so had an ancient enemy. And now the fate of the galaxy might rest in human hands. The void moved through space like a dark cloud, swallowing stars as it came. Ships that tried to scan it never returned. Planets in its path went silent. The Concord Council met in emergency session on Nexus Station, their arguments growing louder as fear spread. "We must combine our fleets," shouted one counselor. "No, we must protect our own worlds first," replied another. Captain Ta Jin sat quietly in the back of the council chamber, watching the panic spread. Beside him, Scholar Rin studied ancient texts on her tablet. "They're making the same mistakes as before," she whispered to him. "When the void first appeared 50,000 years ago, each species tried to fight alone. They all failed." A Valari commander stood up, his red face even darker with anger. "The humans activated the beacons. They woke this monster. They should face it alone." Soon after, reports came that the entire Valari fleet was pulling back to their home systems. Other species began to do the same. The great alliance of the Concord was falling apart. Captain Tai returned to the Prometheus and called Earth. "We don't have much time," he told Admiral Han. "The void will reach populated systems in less than 3 months." "What about the Concord? Will they help?" asked the Admiral. "No. They're retreating to their own territories. We're on our own." That night, Captain Tai couldn't sleep. He walked the quiet corridors of his ship, thinking about everything they had learned. The progenitors had altered early humans. The ancient station had responded to human DNA, and human navigators could instinctively understand wormhole patterns that other species spent lifetimes mastering. It wasn't an accident, he said to himself. We were made for this moment. In the ship's small garden area, he found Dr. Moon studying plant samples. "I've been analyzing the genetic data from the progenitor station," said Dr. Moon without looking up. "They didn't just change our appearance or intelligence. They altered something much deeper." "What do you mean?" asked Ta. Dr. Moon pointed to a complex diagram on his screen. "There are sequences in human DNA that don't match any evolutionary pattern. They're artificial, added by the progenitors, and they're identical to the patterns we see in wormhole formation." Captain Ta stared at the screen. "Are you saying they put wormhole physics into our DNA?" "Not just the physics," replied Dr. Moon. "The knowledge of how to use it. That's why our navigators can intuitively sense patterns that take other species decades to learn. The knowledge was inside us all along, waiting to be remembered." Captain Ta called an emergency meeting with his officers and the Nith scholars. "I think I know why the progenitors created us," he told them. "They couldn't defeat the void directly, but they could create a successor species that might succeed where they failed." Using the wormhole knowledge encoded in our DNA, added Dr. Moon. Lieutenant Min, their best navigator, spoke up. I've been studying the navigation techniques from the ancient station. They're similar to what I naturally do, but more advanced. I think I can reproduce them. How does this help us defeat the Void? Asked First Officer Yoon. The Void feeds on energy, explained Scholar Rin. Particularly the energy of advanced technology. That's why it targets civilizations, but it can't create energy itself. Captain Tai nodded slowly as an idea formed. So if we could trap it somewhere with no energy to consume, it would starve, finished Dr. Moon. Over the next 2 months, Earth worked frantically. Every shipyard built small, fast vessels equipped with modified sun drives based on Lieutenant Min's discoveries. Scientists and engineers worked around the clock, guided by the knowledge from the ancient station. Captain Tai was given command of the operation. His plan was daring. They would create a massive network of wormholes around the Void, then collapse them in a special way to form a pocket dimension, a space cut off from the rest of the universe. It's never been tried before, warned Jun, who had stayed to help while other Concord representatives fled. Even the progenitors never attempted something like this. They didn't have 50,000 years of evolution working on their wormhole genes, replied Captain Ta with a small smile. As the Void approached the outer colonies, the human fleet moved into position. 200 ships, each with a navigator trained by Lieutenant Min, spread out in a vast sphere around the darkness. All ships report ready, Captain, said First Officer Yoon on the bridge of the Prometheus, which now served as the command vessel. Captain Tai took a deep breath. Begin wormhole formation. Across the fleet, navigators reached out with their minds, feeling the quantum patterns in a way no other species could. 200 wormholes opened simultaneously, each precisely placed. Phase 2, ordered Todd when all wormholes were stable. The navigators began to adjust their wormholes, connecting them to each other rather than to distant points in space. It was like weaving a net of energy around the Void. It's noticing us, reported Lieutenant Min, her hands moving rapidly over her controls. It's trying to feed on our wormhole energy. Perfect, said Ta. That's exactly what we want. All ships, proceed to Phase 3 on my mark. This was the most dangerous part. Each ship would create a second, smaller wormhole inside their first one, then collapse both in a precise sequence. If done correctly, it would fold space around the Void, trapping it in a pocket dimension. 3, 2, 1. Mark. The universe seemed to bend. Stars blurred. For a moment, it felt like reality itself was tearing. Then silence. Where the Void had been, there was now nothing. Not darkness, not empty space, simply an absence, as if that part of the universe had been erased. Did it work? Asked First Officer Yoon. Lieutenant Min checked her instruments. The pocket dimension is stable. The Void is contained. A cheer went up across the bridge, but Captain Tai knew their work wasn't finished. We need to establish gateway points, he ordered, places where we can monitor the Void and make sure it stays trapped. In the months that followed, humanity built gateway stations at strategic points around the pocket dimension. Only human navigators could open paths to check on the Void, ensuring it remained contained. The Concord Council, which had abandoned them in their time of need, now approached Earth with new respect. In a formal ceremony, Earth was recognized not just as a member world, but as a guardian species, protectors of the galaxy with special privileges and responsibilities. With their natural navigation abilities and modified sun drives, human ships began exploring the systems beyond the gravitational reefs, places no other Concord species could reach. They found incredible resources and beautiful worlds, just as the ancient maps had promised. Scholar Rin visited Captain Ta before returning to her homeworld. The progenitors would be proud, she told him. The sleeping giant has not only awakened, but has embraced its purpose. Captain Ta looked out at the stars, thinking of all the new worlds waiting to be discovered. "We were never meant to stay in one small corner of the galaxy," he said. "We were meant to be guardians of all life, everywhere." Humanity had taken its rightful place among the stars. The sleeping giant was fully awake at last. The end